Whew. Good morning. It is chilly out this morning. I believe it got down to about 35 degrees last night. That would be about 1 or 2 Celsius. It is mid-October, and it's about that time where I need to start thinking about pulling out my diesel heater and seeing if I want to bring that along on my travels. About 2 years ago, I bought the Hcalory Toolbox Heater, which worked fairly well, and I liked the product, but there was a couple design characteristics that didn't quite fit with my needs. But a couple weeks ago, Hcalory reached out to me to see if I wanted to review their latest toolbox heater. And I jumped at that chance just because I wanted to see if they had improved the product and corrected those sort of design characteristics that I didn't like. So let's take a look. So this is the all-new Hcalory TB2 Max heater, and it is an all-in-one unit, which means instead of having a fold-down box, everything is self-contained and assembled. So there's almost no assembly. The only assembly I'm going to need to do is adding the heating hose with a 4-inch clamp, adding the exhaust with clamps as well, connecting it to my battery. So this unit can be powered off of AC, 12 volt DC or 24 volt DC. So it's very versatile in that respect. And then we have the muffler, which is supposed to make the exhaust much quieter. That's another contention with these heaters, is that sometimes the fuel pump makes a pretty loud and noticeable ticking noise. So tick, 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 tick as it pumps the fuel up into the unit. This one's supposed to be pretty quiet, so we'll see how that goes. And yeah, so let's just assemble this and show just how easy it is. So I just have a Phillips head on my small electric screwdriver. It's getting hung up in there somehow, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. Maybe take it apart and see why it's hanging up there. It's supposed to latch onto these bands and automatically tighten down as you tighten the screw, but as you can see, it's not getting tight enough to fit around the exhaust or the heat port. So it should be easily able to be clamped on there, but that's not happening right now. So let's switch around and connect up the exhaust port. All right. Okay, that's pretty tight. So on this side, we have the integrated fuel container, and it has a 7.5 liter max capacity, which equates to about 2 gallons. And it has the window here that you can actually read the fuel level. This is the air intake port up here, and this down here is where you plug in the DC power cord. So this is the remote control unit that is pretty cool from what it looks like. So first off, it has a little temperature sensor there at the top, and then if you flip it over, there's a little port there that it says CO, which is a carbon monoxide detector, and then it's rechargeable by USB-C. So this will actually hang inside my Jeep, so that the remote temperature sensor and the CO detector are working simultaneously to make sure everything's running properly and turning on and off with the temperature I set, and that I'm not taking any chances from carbon monoxide poisoning. So it's nice that these the controller and the remote all store in here, self-contained, and then you can close the lid, and this entire unit, it is rain and snow resistant, and it is equivalent to an IPX4 waterproofing rating, which means I can actually have this running and it can be snowing or raining and the electronics and everything inside will stay dry. So in addition to the heating vent being the clamp not quite working right, this hose is a little short for my needs. I'll give a demonstration of how I set things up on the Jeep and why this won't work quite perfectly for me. So when I bought the previous Hcalory heater, I made a panel that goes into the window slot of my Jeep. Goes in there. And then I have this is a 3-inch vent, which I can attach to here via magnets. So now all I have to do is attach the hose end over to here. Now the new Hcalory comes with a 4-inch hose, so I went ahead and bought an adapter to be able to use the 4-inch hose with the 3-inch vent. So let me put that on. So here's the adapter, so that will slide onto there. And I also have this dryer vent hose, so it's way more longer and more flexible. So what I plan to do is connect that here and then have it run over to the heater over here. With the previous design, I actually attached the heater to this side of my side panel here, and then attached the fuel canister over to this portion, and I just strapped it on with straps. Now that's not going to work with this new model for 2 reasons. One, well, let me just get it and show you. Okay, so now I technically could strap this entire, all-in-one unit to the Jeep, and it would work. However, the exhaust port is technically on the wrong, it's not the wrong side, but it's the wrong side for my setup. So this is the intake over here, and this is the heat vent on this side. So I would have to run my duct from here all the way up and over here, which technically will work, but in the long run it would be better for me if I could turn it around this way, so that the heat port's on the window side, and then I could also see the fuel gauge on this side. So I could switch it to the other side of the Jeep, but that's the side I get in and out on for my camping purposes. So this is the only side that would work in my setup. So I think what I'm going to do is set up my portable table and set everything up from there. So let me do that. All right, got it all set up now. So we have the DC power cord going to my small motorcycle-sized battery. Now I didn't actually buy this battery. This actually came out of my Jeep. It's the auxiliary battery that I deleted. It's a long story. We've got the exhaust port. Push that away from the car. Go. Then we got the heating hose connected. But once I get those clamped on, I'm ready to like fire it up and test it out. All I got to do is put in the fuel and go from there, and then make sure that the display unit is working. It's showing 12 volts from the battery, and we just need to switch it up and get it functioning. So we'll do that later tonight when I get everything completely situated and ready to go. Okay, so I've got the heater running and I can hear it clicking from the fuel pump, but it's pretty quiet. Actually amazingly quiet. So here's the panel. Now, I didn't read the instructions. This was just, I set this based on the actual app. So I was able to download, I'm gonna turn my light off here. So I was able to download the Hcalory app for my iPhone and set the settings on there. Much easier than either the remote control or on the faceplate here. So I have climbed into the Jeep for the night. I've got the temperature sensor and remote control and CO2 sensor that came with the unit. It's sitting right next to me. I'm gonna hang that up over here just so it's up and out of the way and doesn't get lost in my bedding and stuff. And then I also have my, you're not gonna be able to see this on camera, but I have an indoor-outdoor temperature sensor. There is a remote sensor outside that will track how cool it gets tonight, and then it also tracks the internal temperature via this unit here. And so in the morning we'll be able to see exactly how cold it got and how warm it stayed inside the Jeep. So that should be a good test to you know, to see how well the heater is working. So it does min and max, and so I reset it so that the min, it should capture the min tonight and it should capture the maximum tonight. So we should be able to see a good temperature range. So right now the vent is blowing in right behind the camera there, and it took, I put a stopwatch on it, and it was blowing basically cold air for the first about minute and a half. And once that minute and a half hit, the air started getting warm, and then by right before, like about 2.5 minutes to 2:45, it actually was blowing hot air. So, and now it's still blowing hot air. I went ahead and set it to 72 degrees, which is actually pretty hot for what I'm used to. I usually would set like my heater at home at like 68 because I like to sleep cold at night, and then it bumps up during the day when I'm up and about and stuff. But I like it to be a little bit chilly at night, so I can actually get under the covers and not be too hot. So it's a little warmer than I usually set it, but I'll suffer for one night just to test the heater out. So I'm going to shut the lights off. This is currently saying that it's 55 outside and 7 degrees inside. So pretty good so far. So we'll keep going and see what happens in the morning. All right, so we'll pick you up in about 8 hours. Another good morning out by the lake. The diesel heater worked pretty well last night. So I'm gonna walk down to the boat dock and bring you with me, and I'll go over some of the pros and cons of this version of the heater. So let's start with the cons. There was a hint of diesel smell inside the Jeep after running the heater all night. However, I did spill a little fuel as I was filling the tank, so I'm not sure if that was a contributing factor or if something else is going on there. Also, the small battery I was using to power the heater
dropped below 12 volts rather quickly, which made the heater shut off. I had to pull out the AC adapter included with the heater and run it using my Anchor house battery. This might be due to the fact the battery is old and was not charged adequately, but I would have to do a lot more testing to verify that. So let's go over the pros. One of the big features is the very quiet operation. The fuel pump made a slight ticking sound when it was first priming the fuel lines, but once that was completed, I couldn't hear it at all, and that was pretty impressive. The exhaust muffler made a low hum as it was heating up, but once it was under full operating temps, all I could hear was the standard exhaust sounds. Then you could also hear the blower fan, but it was minimal and was barely perceptible inside the Jeep. I also really liked the all in one design, which required almost no assembly, and the phone app was well designed and made the unit incredibly easy to use. So, overall, this is a well designed and easily portable heater.
So if you're interested in purchasing the Hcalory Max Toolbox Heater, you can find a link in my description below, or you can hit this QR code above. At the time of purchase, use the coupon code WIDEAIR15 to get 15% off your purchase.